the Para Cave podcast, proudly brought to you by Rubbish Removal Kings, The Corner Post, Flash Conveyancing, Parramatta Leagues Club, Wine Barrels Event Hire Sydney, and Wick Coffee, proud sponsors of the Para Cave podcast.
We are Flash Conveyancing, your property legal team, and you're listening to the Para Cave podcast. If you are buying or selling property in New South Wales, call us. Call Flash Conveyancing.
Let's go! Welcome back to another show. Hi, how are ya? It's a Para Cave podcast coming at ya. Turn it up, feel the vibe, blue and gold. Step inside the cave. Yeah. Easy try in the corner. Here's your host, Troy Warner. Coming to you live from the world famous Para Cave.
Hi, how are ya? Welcome back to another episode of the Para Cave podcast. This is the NRL Round preview podcast, and it is round number 8, and it is a very special round this round. It is the Anzac Round with Anzac Day on Saturday, so a very special, emotional round for everybody in rugby league, I guess, and everyone paying their respects to servicemen and women, past and present. It does get a lot emotional when that last post is played and the ode is read as well. Before that will happen before every game that we see this weekend, and we will also see a lot of Anzac jerseys that are out there in the NRL, which are a great thing. Just means people like me have to get another one, which I already have got from the Corner Post. And speaking of the Corner Post, Ben from the Corner Post, how are you going?
I'm going great, mate. I'm really looking forward to this week. We've come into this week with a lot of positivity. Everybody's buzzing. The fans are all happy. The Corner Post's pumping. Everything's going good at the moment. So I'm happy. I'm pumped. I'm thrilled. What I want to know before we get into this one is, what does Anzac Day mean to you and your family?
Well, I tend to go to the service, the dawn service every year, I should say. When I can get to it, it's a little bit easier now for me to get to it because I don't have to work on those days because the shops are closed on Anzac Day, so I don't have to worry about work. But I'm early bird anyway, so I get up and I usually go down to the dawn service. Some years I have gone then across to Penrith RSL because I attend the Penrith service. I go across there and I generally make it sort of a rule to myself to have 2 beers for my 2 pops who serviced in for Australia. I think one in the Air Force, one in the Army. So that's what I do, and just sometimes I'll just get next to an old digger who's there and have a chat to him, and it really makes his day. And I mean, for younger people to speak to those sort of people, it really means sort of thing. But I think of my 2 pops who are now passed, and the fact that they serviced the country, or did service for the country, and not just them, but also, as I said before in the intro, just all the other servicemen and women, both past and present, who are keeping this place, Australia, like the way it is, and the way that we can live our lives in Australia at the moment as well. I mean, we live in a pretty lucky country, so and it's all thanks to them.
Yeah, 100%. That sounds absolutely phenomenal, and it's great to see you getting down there for a dawn service and having a chat with a digger. For me personally, Anzac Day is a bit of a big day for me. I personally, as a teenager, I was in the Australian Air Force, so I spent a short amount of time there and did a little bit of service there as well. I've got the Australian Air Force to thank for my oldest son, Leon. I met his mother during the Air Force cadets there as well. So I've got that one under my belt. I haven't got to a dawn service in quite some time, to be honest. Obviously, having a young family, it's quite difficult to get everyone up at that kind of time. So it's not something that I've been able to do regretfully. But when I do get out to a dawn service, I typically try to get down to Campbelltown RSL. That's always been my go-to. Even though I don't live in that area, I still try to get to that one because that was the sort of one that we did when we grew up as well, growing up in Campbelltown. I'm a bit like you. I like to sort of try to find somebody that looks like they're up for a chat and learn some stories and have some history lessons. My grandfather was he grew up in Scotland in Aberdeen, and he actually missed the enlistment by a single year, I believe. So
Right.
he missed out on going over to the war. So he doesn't have very many war stories for me, but my great-grandfather was in the Maltese Army. He got a Purple Heart. He took a bullet for Queen Elizabeth driving a bus during, I think it was World War II. And my grandfather on my dad's side was English, but he unfortunately passed away before my dad was born. So we weren't able to sort of meet him and hear some stories from him, but sort of blazed my own path in this world. And who knows, maybe in the future I'll go back to the Air Force and do some stuff there again. But once I get my body right and get myself all fixed up and all the surgeries that I need to get myself right, I'll probably try to re-enlist again at some point in the future. So yeah, Anzac Day is a big one for me. It's a special one, and it's one that I like to make sure everybody gives the correct amount of respect to, because it's a very important day for this country, and if it wasn't for those guys, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we do and love. So it's all thanks to them, and it's a big one for me, this one.
That's right. It's not all about drinking and two-up. That is for sure. I've never played two-up, to be honest. Cost me too much money, I reckon. But anyway, so it's not all about drinking and two-up. It's about the respect and learning the history and paying respects. So, it's going to be a very emotional round, I guess, this weekend. So, kicking it off is the Tigers taking on the Raiders at Leichhardt Oval. Some would call it the eighth wonder of the world, but this one's going to be at night time, so I don't know how that goes. But third place Tigers against the 13th place Raiders. The Raiders have got a couple of big players out.
It feels like it's the wrong way around, doesn't it?
Third
place Tigers, 13th place Raiders.
Yeah, if it was last year, it probably would be the other way around. But look, the Tigers, they're playing some great footy at the moment. Really exciting to watch. They're scoring some great long-range tries. They're throwing the ball around. They've got some good combinations going. They are an exciting team to watch. Benji's got them firing. Hudson Young and Josh Papali'i are out for the Raiders, so there's two big outs for them. And they're travelling to Leichhardt, even though they beat the Tigers twice last year. So it should be interesting. They did beat them at Campbelltown, though, last year when they played the Tigers at home. So different ground, but what are your thoughts on this one?
My boy Gerald Skelton's back on the reserve, so I'm always keeping an eye on him. The viewers and listeners here will know how much I love him. But yeah, looking over the team list, it looks like two pretty strong teams. Obviously, the Raiders are down on troops a little bit, but look, I think there's always one or two games in the week that we like to peg as a potential game of the week, and this one could be the early one. I like the look of this. I do like the look of this matchup. I think I've got the Tigers pretty well ahead at the moment, but it's starting to become a dangerous thing underestimating this Raiders team, because it's starting to find its feet and starting to pick it back up again and get back to where we probably all expected the Raiders to be this year. So they do sit at 13th at the moment, which is probably not where they want to be, but I think if we check back in with them in a few weeks' time, they might be looking a lot better. So I'd be weary of this Raiders side right now, but I think if the Tigers are going to get the wood over them, now's the time because they're still figuring out. They've got those couple of troops out. I think the Tigers are probably looking the best that they've looked, despite the loss last week, which, to be honest, I thought could have really gone either way as well. So we could be looking at the top of the table Tigers side here if that one goes the other way around.
Well, the Raiders, they are in form. They won their last two. The Tigers, as you mentioned there, went down by 1 point to the Broncos. But previous to that, they won their last three. So, look, maybe was that a big game? They got the short turnaround. They played on, Saturday night. But, look, I think even with that crowd, they'll have the home crowd there at Leichhardt. They should be packed in there again, even though it is at night time, not during the day like they love it there, Sunday afternoon football there at Leichhardt. But I'm going to tip the Tigers in that one.
Yeah, me too. I'm going with the Tigers on that one, but I think this one could be closer than you think.
And this one could be closer, or it could be a toss of the coin. This one, the Sharks travel up to Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville to take on the Cowboys at 6 p.m. on Friday the 24th of April. Now, both these sides lost their last encounter. Having said that, the Sharks did have the bye last week, so they are fresh, ready to go. Travelling up to Townsville, the Cowboys, they lost to the Sea Eagles last week, 38 points to 6 at this ground. However, they did win the last four previous to that, so they will not want to go down in front of their home fans again, I would say, definitely. But look, they've got a couple of big ins for their team. Jeremiah Nanai, Murray Tuolangi, Reid Marnie are in their side. But the Sharkies have got Cameron McInnes coming back from his ACL injury as well, round 24 last year. He did that one, so that sounds pretty quick that he's coming back. Actually, he's on the bench, so look, I just think it might be a little bit hard for the Sharks going up to the humidity of Townsville after having a week off. I think the Cowboys, they can get back on track and get a win in this one.
Okay, I'm going to oppose you on this one. I think this will be the first one of the week that we
There
that we
you go,
split.
nice and early.
I smell blood in the water with the Cowboys right now. They seem to. Well, first of all, they really disappointed me last week because I did tip them to beat Manly, and they were absolutely dreadful. Now I know they've got a few big ins here, but I don't know. There's something about this Shark side. They seem to win one, lose one, win one, lose one, and they're on the back end of their lose one at the moment. So maybe they win this one. Maybe they get the job done up there. But yeah, look. For me, I don't know. I've just got a feeling about the Sharks in this one. I don't really have much of a strong argument to sway you one way or the other. This one's just a feeling for me. So
Right.
I've got a feeling that they're going to get the job done. I've learnt a little bit so far this year that trusting teams to bounce back from a bit of a slide doesn't tend to happen all that often. We sort of thought Manly were going to continue their slide, and then they bounced back and went the opposite way, and we thought Parramatta were going to bounce back, and then they went the complete opposite direction. So a couple of teams this year have shown us that bouncing back either goes one way or the other. So I think the Cowboys have got a bit of a point to prove, but I think the Sharks have got a bigger one. So we'll see what happens. It's an interesting old league. Anything can happen, and yeah, I've got a feeling about the Sharks. I like them for this round.
There you go. Well, I'm going against you in that one, so hopefully I can jump up the tipping ladder. The Broncos are playing on Friday night. Can you believe that one? 8 p.m. against the Bulldogs at Suncorp Stadium. The big news for the Broncos, Payne Haas is out with an MCL injury, 6 to 8 weeks. Corey Jensen as well, a bit of a blood clot, so that's a little bit unusual. So we wish him all the best in his recovery. A bit scary to have a blood clot there, but Jacob Kiraz is out of the Bulldogs side. Bronson Sherry is going across the other side of the field. Stephen Crichton comes back for the Bulldogs, so that is a big news for them. Other than that, no real changes. That went down to the Parramatta Eels last week, 38 points to 20. The Broncos, as we mentioned before, got that 1 point win over the Tigers down there at Campbelltown. But look, at home, I think the Broncos are under a lot of pressure. They're still struggling a little bit. They are. Last year they did have the wood on the Bulldogs, winning their 2 games, and especially up at Suncorp exactly a year ago when this game will be played, 24th of April, 42 points to 18. So the Broncos, they seem to be a little bit more in form at the moment than the Bulldogs, even though the Bulldogs won against the Panthers a couple of weeks ago.
Yep, and they're right next to each other on the ladder too, 9th and 10th. So winner of this one will probably jump up a few spots, you'd say. Look, for me, I'm actually going to tip the Broncos on this one. It's probably against the form guide at the moment, because I think the Bulldogs are probably sitting a little bit prettier with the... I know they've got a couple of injuries themselves, but they've also got a couple of big players coming back too. But I think for me, I know Payne Haas is a huge out for the Broncos, but I think Jacob Kiraz being out for the Bulldogs is a bigger, impactful out between those two. I think the Broncos have had Payne Haas go out a few times over the last sort of 12 to 24 months, and they've been able to cover him quite well. They've been ready for it. I think whenever Jacob Kiraz has been out for the Bulldogs, it's been panic stations there. So I think that's going to be a big out. It's going to really make a difference to that Bulldogs side, and look,
you think
they're not in good
Kiraz
form
is
right
the bigger out than Payne Haas?
In the context of the two sides, I don't think it's a bigger out overall, because I think Payne Haas is a much better footballer than Jacob Kiraz, but I think Kiraz is more important to his team than Payne Haas is.
Really?
I think they cover Payne Haas quite well whenever he goes out. So it's like I said, it seems to be whenever Kiraz goes out, the Bulldogs panic. Whenever Payne Haas goes out, the Broncos seem to be ready and have a plan for it. So I think it's more about the preparation that I've seen historically between those two when those guys are out. So it gives me a bit of a worry for the Bulldogs when I see Kiraz isn't on the team list, more so than when I see Haas is missing for Brisbane. Obviously being in Brisbane as well, that hurts too. So
just don't tell the forwards that you think a winger has more impact on a team than a forward, because
that's exactly how the Bulldogs have been playing though. They've been playing like garbage lately. Especially last week against Parramatta, those forwards had absolutely no impact on the game. So it is a bit of a sad and telling sign when a winger going out makes a bigger impact than a forward going out, and that's just where the Bulldogs are at.
Yeah, okay. I just I think Payne Haas is a massive out for their Brisbane's go forward, but only time will tell. Look, I actually think the Bulldogs can win this game, to be honest. Not the Broncos. So I think Stephen Crichton's a big in for them back. And look, they'll be disappointed they lost to Parramatta last week. They probably would have expected to win that game, having beaten the Panthers the week before. But look, I think they'll just I think the Bulldogs have got this one. Over there, the Broncos at home. A lot of pressure on the Broncos at home, but nevertheless, I think the Bulldogs can get the job done.
Well, I'm just having a quick look over some stats here before we move on to the next game. The Broncos have actually got a pretty good record without Payne Haas in their side. So historically, they do tend to perform pretty decently without Payne Haas. So I'm not too concerned, to be honest. There, I think it's less of an impactful out than what it appears on the team sheet.
Well, maybe we'll put it out to the listeners. Who has the biggest impact of being out, Jacob Kiraz or Payne Haas? Let us know.
Well, there you go. For context, here's a stat for you. They've won their past 4 games without Payne Haas.
Yeah. Well, we'll put it out there. Jacob Kiraz or Payne Haas, who has the biggest impact of being out of their teams? we'll let the listeners have their say. Get in touch with us and drop us a comment, and we'll review that next week when we do our review of the round and see what they say. And only time will tell with the result of the game. That is it anyway. But Anzac Day, well, the traditional Dragons versus Roosters game at Allianz Stadium, 4 p.m. in Sydney. Jaden Sewer is out suspended for the Dragons, and look, everything's just happened at the Dragons this week. The coach is gone, the assistant coach is gone, the general manager of football is gone, the board is under pressure as well from the media in terms of how they handled that press conference. I think the Roosters are just sitting back nice and quietly, just going about their business. And I think on Anzac Day, they will get the job done and get it done comfortably. However, in these sort of games, because it is such a big occasion, this is the Anzac Day game that everyone looks forward to. You just never know what's going to happen. And also, Cade Reid is the halfback instead of Kyle Flanagan. So we'll have to see how he goes. Maybe they're saying that there's a lot of pressure on him, but it's also up to the other 16 players in the Dragons side to help him out to try and get victory.
Yeah, look, I don't think there is a lot of pressure on him, to be honest. I think he'll probably have a quite enjoyable week. It's his first grade debut, and we all know how first grade debuts can go. You only have to look back a couple of weeks ago to the impact that our young fella out there on the wing made against the Tigers. When he came on for his first grade debut, nearly turned the game and won it for us. So it's a funny old thing. First grade debuts, they can be good, they can be bad, they can be in between, they can be pretty, they can be ugly. So it's an interesting one. Like you say, the Dragons are out there with absolutely nothing to lose. So sometimes those are the most dangerous sides on the face of the earth, when you've got a team that's just playing free-flowing footy, nothing to lose, happy to go out there and throw it around. But look, realistically, the Roosters should put 50 on them in this contest. This is a contest that they should be able to get up for. They are called the Sydney Roosters. They're not called the Bankstown Roosters or the Leichhardt Roosters or whatever. They're called the Sydney Roosters. So they should be representing Sydney with pride. They should be representing the state of New South Wales as a whole with pride on this Anzac Day. So if they can't get up for this occasion, and I know it's a pretty big one historically for the Roosters, then what game can they get up for? I've got the Roosters winning this one comfortably, but very interested in seeing the debut of Cade Reid and seeing if that makes an impact on the scoreline somewhat.
Seeing, as you mentioned, they might put 50 on them. Last year they did put 46 on them, won 46 points to 18. This was the game where Sandon Smith was the man of the match. I can't remember what the man of the match is called. I think they get a medal in this game. But anyway, he got it last year, and that's probably where he got his Newcastle contract out of, because he did score 2 tries. He did kick 7 goals as well. But he also got sin binned as well. So it was all happening for Sandon Smith in that game for the Roosters. He's now at the Newcastle Knights, but that's what happened last Anzac Day. But
Well, speaking of number 6s, Jaylee Cherry-Evans, could this be the game that he finally figures it all out and he finally gets it all together and he gets the Roosters on track to where they should be?
Oh, I think he probably got it that last week as well, to come down from...
It was a shaky start last week. I wouldn't call last week a full performance.
Yeah, but to get him back on track to get the win, it was. What were they, 24-12 down, and ended up getting the victory, so...
I'm waiting to see a dominant Cherry-Evans performance, though. I think we've been starved of that so far this year at the Roosters.
Well, he still is in a new system. He's with new players. He's not playing his natural position as well. He's 5'8", not a halfback. So, he's 7 weeks in. He's still.
Is this his chance, though? Do you reckon? It's a side that they're pretty favoured pretty favourably matched up against. I
Well,
think
he's a big
if he's
match
going to
player.
show it, now's the chance.
Well, he's a big game player. He's played Origin. He's played for Australia. Played in grand finals. So this sort of occasion as well. Yeah, potentially we might see the best of him. To be honest, so maybe he might be the man of the match this time. We'll just have to wait and see. But I still think he's just trying to still find his feet at the Roosters. But as I said, new surroundings, new players, new position. So we'll just have to wait and see. The next game on Saturday is at 6:05 p.m. over in Wellington. So good to see New Zealand getting a bit of rugby league on Anzac Day. The Warriors taking on the Dolphins. Second place Warriors, 12th place Dolphins. So look, different ground to Go Media Stadium, but I'm sure it will be sold out as well. Chance Nickel Clockstar is out.
It's a funny old name, the stadium. Henry Stadium. HNRY Stadium. I think they pronounce it Henry without the E. So to me, that just sounds like a shit stadium.
Well, okay, fair enough.
I
sorry
don't
to
know if back in your day you called
our New Zealand listeners, but it might have a.
Well, that's what it was growing up. A Henry was a poop. It was a number 2. So I don't know. Is that a New Zealand thing as well, or
I do
is
not
that just
know
an Aussie
anything.
colloquialism?
I do not know anything about this stadium, so I cannot answer that question at all. But sorry to all our New Zealand listeners about that one. I don't know what that one's all about, but Cody.
It's an interesting name. I'll give it that.
Well, I mean, you look at the grounds in Australia. I mean, you got.
I tell you what, though, actually, just to save us from this one, I do know a fair bit about this stadium because this is actually the home of Wellington Phoenix in the A-League. They call this one the Cake Tin. I believe this stadium is actually on the harbour there, and it is perfectly shaped like a cake tin. So it is actually a really, really pretty stadium. I think it holds about 35,000 odd, which is a bigger capacity than CommBank. So it is actually a very pretty stadium. But you're not a fan of oval stadiums for square football matches, though, are you?
No, but I do love cake. So if you're calling it the cake tin, well, I love cake. But yeah, round grounds for a rectangle game is not good viewing for the fans.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you one more fun fact about this stadium. It's got 34,500 seats, and 100% of those seats are undercover.
Fair enough. Well, so are the ones at CommBank Stadium as well. So there you go.
I don't think the lower bowl ones are undercover, are they?
Yeah, the roof reaches all the way over to the top of the stands. So
okay, well, there you go. I always thought they were uncovered.
If you sit in the front row, and look up, you will see the roof. Doesn't mean you're not going to get wet because it depends on the wind and the way that the rain falls. But look, the Dolphins, they went down 1 point to the Panthers last week. They really took it to them up there in Darwin. The Warriors, they beat the Titans. There's a killer backline for the Dolphins: Hammer, Asako, Avarillo, Farnworth, Cobbo. That's where all your strike power is there. The Warriors, though, they've got Jackson Ford and James Fisher-Harris leading the way up front. But I think the Warriors in New Zealand will get this job done.
Yeah, they are missing Chance Nickel Clockstar, which is a big out. I am a little bit worried about that because that, as you say, that back line of the Dolphins is absolutely lethal at the best of times. So, look, I think on paper the Warriors get this one done, but this is another one of those danger games. Yeah, you saw how the Dolphins performed last week against Penrith, and they got awfully close to boiling that game over for the upset win. So it's one of those ones. It's one of those funny games where I can see this one going either way, but I have tipped the Warriors for this one.
Another team that's under pressure, I guess you could say. Not as much pressure as the St George Dragons at the moment, but the Melbourne Storm. They take on the Rabbitohs down at Amy Park, their traditional Anzac Day game. But the Storm are in 15th spot. The Rabbitohs are in 4th. The Storm have lost 5 in a row. Two unchanged teams from last week. What is going on at the Storm, and will they perform better down at home against the Rabbitohs?
This one stinks of a big game, doesn't it? This has got that big game energy around it. As soon as I saw it on the schedule, I thought, yep, this is going to be a big one. So, I'm actually smelling a bounce back game from Melbourne here. I reckon this could be a little upset boil over down there in Melbourne. I can see in my head already as I think about this game, Nick Meaney and Latrell Mitchell going at each other. So I think this one's going to be a good game, and this one could be the game of the round. I reckon. I'm going to put the mocker on it for that one. The only thing I'm sort of disappointed about is that this is the 8 o'clock game. I feel like this could have been a fun sort of early afternoon, sort of late lunch time slot game.
Late
I know
lunch?
they tend to be. Well, I don't know. Sometimes on the Anzac Day, they do tend to bring them a little bit earlier, around like the 2 o'clock mark.
I think
that
they
could have
always
been a
start
good
at
time
4.
slot for this one.
Nah, I think they always start at 4 o'clock on Anzac Day.
Well,
Same as
even 4 o'clock, that would have been a fun time slot for this one, I think. So I think that's, although Melbourne does put it on in the night time too, so you can't be too upset about that time slot. But yeah, I don't know. I would have liked to, if I was attending this one, I think an afternoon slot would have been the one that I would have preferred. But nevertheless, I think it's going to be an absolute cracker of a match, this one.
I think they have to have it at the night time because they have an amazing light show before the game. In this game, I think, down there in Melbourne. So that's probably why they have it at night time. And I think the Dragons Roosters game's always on at 4 o'clock on Anzac Day. And then obviously you don't have anything before that because, people are out, celebrating Anzac Day. So, yeah, that's the 4 o'clock game's the first one always, and then 2 hours after that. But there's an amazing light show that'll happen before this game down in Melbourne. But look, it is a danger game for Melbourne. Otherwise, I might go 6 games in a row. Not that I really care at all, to be honest. But considering it's the Melbourne Storm. But look, if you just look at both,
Danger game for Melbourne or danger game for Souths?
well, more so for Melbourne because they could go 6 games lost in a row, and Origin is coming up, so they're going to lose some of their best players, 3, 4, maybe 5 players to Origin. So, and they're in 15th spot, so they'll want to try and get some wins before Origin just to hang around that top 8 again. Look, they can score more points than the Rabbitohs, but the Rabbitohs can have better defence than the Melbourne Storm, so they may keep them out. So, but I'm tipping the Rabbitohs in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to tip Melbourne on this one. I'm going against you again on this one. So one of us is going to have a really good week, and one of us is going to have a really bad week at tipping here. So we'll figure out which one of that is when we get to our round review podcast next week.
That's it for sure. Newcastle take on the Penrith Panthers on Sunday, the 26th of April at 2 p.m. up at McDonald Jones Stadium. Look, Newcastle, I mean, they're in a bit of a slide at the moment as well. They were up at 3rd spot when they played the Tigers. They've had a couple of losses in a row now. They've slipped down to 8th. The Panthers, well, they've just stayed on top spot. They had that loss against the Bulldogs, but then they got that 1-point win against the Dolphins in Darwin. Last time they played up in McDonald Jones Stadium, it was a massive win, 48 points to 12 to the Panthers. However, last year in Bathurst, the Newcastle Knights defeated the Panthers 25 points to 6. It was the Dylan Lucas show that night. He got a hat-trick. However, he's not playing in this one. Neither is Greg Marju. So James Schiller comes in. Mitch Kenny is out for the Panthers for an extended period. So Freddie Lussick comes in for that. Other than that, no other changes in this one. Can you see Newcastle getting an upset in this one, or will the Panthers just roll on with another victory?
Well, Newcastle have done what I feared they would do. They've changed up the side. They've changed up the halves combination that was working for them to accommodate for Dylan Brown, and it's not gone well for them. So It is a little bit unfortunate. They did start last week's game well, but they ended it very, very poorly. So, look, I think the Panthers are going to roll on. I think this one will be an entertaining game, but I don't think it's going to be a close full-time scoreline like we did see with the Dolphins and the Panthers last week. But what I do want to bring up in this game, that big out that you spoke about for the Panthers, Mitch Kenny. Now, I don't know how much you believe in karma, but had Mitch Kenny had successfully, I shouldn't say successfully, unsuccessfully, I guess. Had he have unsuccessfully challenged that ban appeal and not been banned for that game last week, had been banned for that game last week, which we all agree after his hip drop on it was on Isaiah Iongi, wasn't it?
Yeah.
After that hip drop on Iongi that put him out long term, we all agreed that Mitch Kenny should be out long term as well. Now, had the powers that be listened to us all and banned him for the correct period of time, he would not have been in that game to get injured. So, I don't know. I don't know how much you believe in karma, but that might be a working example of it.
Do you think the NRL listens to us fans?
No, God no.
So,
If they did, we'd have forward pass video referees. So, I think we've all been calling for that one for the last 10, 15 years. I don't know why it's so difficult to call out an obvious forward pass using the video assistance. I believe that's what it's there for. And if they were listening to us, that would have been implemented years ago. And Parramatta probably would have beat Melbourne in the 2017 prelim.
Tom Jenkins playing against his old club may even get another double. I think it'll be his 8th double in a row, which is a record, I think, in the NRL for scoring
That's
2
unheard of, surely.
Oh, absolutely it is. But yeah, playing against his old club, we know that he'll step up, that's for sure. Yes, I am tipping the Panthers. Can you believe that as well? Sorry, Lincoln, from the United podcast. Cannot tip the Knights. Sorry, buddy. But best of luck. You never know.
We're back on track with this one too, aren't we? Because we're both tipping the Panthers.
Yeah. I think we've only got about 2 different, I think, so far. The Sea Eagles and the Eels round out the round at 4 Pines Park, 4:05 p.m. 6th place Sea Eagles. They've won 3 in a row. They are playing some good footy. They, ever since they sacked Anthony Seibold, I do not know what has happened. They've actually started to win games and win games good. And they've gotten the 3 in a row at the moment. Parramatta, well, we all know their story. They've had the injuries, but they've had players come in. They got that great win against the Bulldogs in front of the 86 team last week. Can they back that up this week and get the win against their other rivals, the Sea Eagles?
Well, what interests me in this game is actually the reserves bench. Joey Walsh has been named on the reserves bench, as well as former Parramatta Eel Nathan Brown. And on our 18th man, which is technically part of the interchange bench, we've got the return of Kelma Tuolangi, along with the return of Sean Russell in the centres as well. So does Parramatta bounce back with the familiar faces back in the side, or was it more of a case of the young youth coming in and making a bit of an impact and creating that spark? I think time will tell on that one. I don't want to put the mocker on Parra because every time I tip us, we seem to lose.
You have to stick with your theory.
I don't know. I've got a feeling this side, to me, I'm looking at this side on paper right now, and I have a feeling this is the Eels lineup that we need to be going forward with. I really, really like the look of this lineup. The only change I would make long term would be obviously Isaiah Iongi back in for Joash, but the rest of this lineup, Brian Kelly on the wing, he was brilliant last week. Sean Russell back in the centres where he belongs. Will Penasini back in the centres where he belongs. Ronald Volkman at 6. I'm loving watching Ronald Volkman at 6 at the moment. I think Luca Moretti's been fantastic as a starting prop. Charlie Geimer as a starting second rower has been fantastic as well. The only thing I question, and we question this every single week and nobody ever listens to us, Dylan Walker starting at lock again. I don't like it. I've never liked it. I want him back on the bench. Saxon Pryke gets another opportunity, which I think is well deserved. I'm really loving this lineup. I don't know. It's got it's got a stink of success to me, this one. I think Tommy Turbo being out is a huge out for Manly as well. So there's an opportunity there to maybe knock them down a peg here, I think.
Nah, you have to stick to your tipping theory. I'm sorry. So you will be tipping the Sea Eagles. I will be tipping Parramatta. And if that does happen, if Parramatta do happen to win, well, then you win as well. So there you go. I've just told you who you're tipping, but Manly have won the last three against Parramatta in a row. So Parramatta don't have the best of records at Brookvale. So. But I believe they could turn it around. Just that win last week will give them confidence. But you will hear more about that game in our Sea Eagles preview, which will be out on Friday. And it will be including some stats, some players, all that usual jazz as well. We'll see what we can come up with in that one. Some plenty of interesting players that have played for both clubs, Manly and Parramatta. Both entered the competition in the same year. Manly have won more comps than Parramatta. However, Parramatta did beat Manly in 2 grand finals, 82-83. So there you go. But Manly did beat Parramatta in one as well, so we won't worry about that one. But you'll hear that in the Sea Eagles preview, which will come out on Friday. So we won't go any more into that one. Ben's tipping the Sea Eagles. I'm tipping Parramatta. So I think we've got about 3 different there. Ben, what have you got at the corner post this week? Look, I think everyone will be an Anzac round. You got all the Anzac jerseys in from all the clubs?
I've just got the ones in from Para this year. I haven't gone ahead and got all the other ones this year. So
is there many
just
left?
focusing on the important one. There is a couple left. So there is still a healthy variety of the shorts left as well. So everybody that has missed out so far, now is your chance to come down to the corner post and get them while they're hot, because they are, in my personal opinion, I think this is one of the best jerseys that Parramatta has ever done. And I think for those that don't buy it before the game, once they see it on the field, they're going to want to buy it after the game. So take out the middleman. Don't wait for it to show up on the TV screen, and don't find yourself in a panic looking for one afterwards, because they are sold out company-wide. Macron have none left unless they get enough orders in to do a reorder, which is highly unlikely. That's not usually what happens for a special event jersey. You're going to have to get it while you can. So don't delay. Come and see us. Get them while I've got them. They are a gorgeous jersey. I'm sure you love yours as much as I love mine, and I'll be wearing it with pride all week long.
Yes, well, I'll be wearing mine on Sunday at Brookvale Oval when I go to the game. So there you go, listeners. If you are in New South Wales, get to the corner post at Westfield Liverpool. Get your Eels Anzac jerseys whilst they are there. Ben, thank you very much for joining me in this one, the NRL preview for round number 8. Good luck with your tips. Enjoy your footy over the weekend. Go Para.
Thanks for listening to another episode